basically we want to make it so the ethical model is the standard, so that all the big studios actually have to change their footing, like, because they used to say, oh, it's just not possible, we can't do it. That's BS. We can do it. We're doing it. We've done it. So that's BS. You can do it ethically. You can license data. You can pay artists and have a good AI video model.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the AI Download, the weekly show where we give you the ultimate recap at the week in AI so you can keep up and stay ahead. Plus, it's actually quite entertaining too. I'm your host, Shira Lazar. I'm the CEO and founder of What's Trending. And let's just say I've been covering digital culture since the Foursquare check ins. Google it if you forget what they are. But if you don't, congratulations. You're still here. And a big thank you to our sponsor, Hivelighter, your AI powered reading assistant that serves up smart, personalized insights so you can spend less time scrolling and more time doing. Check them out, support them. We wouldn't be here without them. And coming up on today's show, what does an AI film studio actually look like? Plus, James Cameron, the guy behind the Titanic and Avatar, well, he's giving his thoughts on the topic and he thinks we can actually cut costs without laying off people. Really interesting to hear more about that and what's possible. Plus, the weird AI prompts going viral, including making pets into humans. Oh, AI. But first, joining us today is one of my favorite people in the industry right now, who I've had some of the longest phone calls with lately about the topic. Yes, we do old school phone calls and we get philosophical. He's a creative AI research lead, has worked with DreamWorks, and even hosted his own masterclass, the actual masterclass that everyone knows, the famous one on AI, and now works at Asteria, actress Natasha Leone's company. As a creative AI pipeline director, Don Allen, welcome to the AI Download.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so much stuff you have going on. You are literally one of the smartest people I know in AI
Oh,
and someone I learn from on a daily basis. Plus, when we get to actually like lean in and talk and get some time together.
that is so sweet. And yeah, I love all the times that we get to chat, and I feel like our conversations go so deep. So I'm very excited to be here.
Just a little note, Don actually did the pilot for the show with me, the AI download. So he came in and did that, and I really appreciated your support from the beginning for the show. And he also was the one who really pushed me to finally do it after months of trying to pitch it around to everyone and to get picked up and to do that whole kind of traditional thing. He said, "Sure, are you going to do it or not? What's going on?" So thank you, Don.
I'm so happy you're doing it. This is great. We're here in Riverside right now. The mics are hot. You got good lighting, and yeah, this is you're doing it. So I'm
Yeah.
proud of you.
Oh, thanks. Well, Riverside, the tool, riverside.fm, not Riverside, California, FYI.
Oh,
Anyway,
got it.
well, let's get into some AI headlines for this week. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, so Coachella was this past weekend. If you didn't notice from the tons of outfit photos on social media, not sure if you had any FOMO. I was, traveling back home and in my bed looking and watching. But Brazilian DJ Alok took to the stage on Saturday to make his own statement about tech. He actually had 50 dancers on stage with him, and the screens displayed the message: "This is not AI." So, Don, where do you see the future of music and even concerts or festivals like this integrating AI, or perhaps going the other extreme, calling it out, disconnecting people?
I honestly see like three trajectories. So the first one is you're going to see people double down on AI, who are going to be like, "This is very AI," and they're like going to embrace it. Then there's going to be another group that's going to say, "We're going to have basically a lot more in-person events, a lot more communities that have no integrations with AI," and they make a point to say, like, "This is no AI." And then there's going to be a third group, and it's going to be a hybrid where it's a mixture of a lot of people involved, a lot of human artists, but then they're also using AI tools. So I think all three are going to continue to happen. In the short term, I think there's going to be a boom in the more in-person events in response to like the culture shock. And then in the later, maybe 5 plus years or less, then there might be more of a hybrid approach.
Where do you stand? Because I feel like I'm a hybrid girl. Like I have moments I want to lean in, right? and be part of this. Obviously, I'm doing a show like this. I'm known as kind of a trend forecaster, but there's so many moments that I actually benefit a lot from disconnecting.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to this, I'd also say I'm more hybrid approach. So like, I think like there's like I set up times where I will not use my devices, or I have zones in the house that I try not to use AI. Sorry, not even zones in the house, zones throughout the day, and some zones
I
in
was like,
in
whoa,
reality.
that is crazy.
Kind of, well, to be honest, like I have like there's a park that I go to, and I try my best not to use AI tools when I'm at this one park. So like I've been trying to almost create certain zones that are like AI free in my own life, but because I use it so heavily. So I am honest about saying like certain places I want to use it, and other places I don't at all.
Also, change your calendar around that. Can you explain that to me briefly?
Yeah, so iPhones have a that do not disturb feature built in,
Yeah.
right? But there's three dots next to it, and if you click the three dots, you can actually choose a geolocation. So, like, whenever your phone is in that location on a map that you've set previously, you can have a whole bunch of settings change on your iPhone when your phone is in
Okay.
that location. And I've had to do that, basically like move all my AI tools far away and make them difficult for me to access when my phone is physically in a zone that I have already said I don't want to have a lot of AI stuff, because I don't want my autopilot, my brain, to be like pull out the phone and start using the tool. But
Yeah.
it's a conscious effort, and it came out of a need of like creating some spaces of like, when do I have AI integration and then when don't I? So I'm a hybrid
Yeah.
approach. So I want to
Yeah,
do
it's like
both.
it's AI, it's tech. I love how you do that with location based, and also, yeah, again, you could do it schedule based on your calendar, where you have moments to disconnect within your schedule as well. Those are great tips for anyone looking at how to create some separation with your tech and some space for yourself as a human without it. Well, next headline. The other week, we were talking about people generating AI images from ChatGPT's 4.0 image upgrade, inspired by Studio Ghibli and the whole controversy around that, which actually, in that moment, I posted a picture and I got called out for it. And then it was a huge debate whether I should take it down. I called Dawn and we like got into a major conversation about it. So, FYI, people don't realize when they call you out on social media or anything, like, it does impact you, and I, for hours, was thinking about this, even going into the following day. But that said, there are 2 more viral trends that have taken over, which are turning yourself into an action figure, basically a Barbie, and transforming your pets into humans, which I did that, and it's cute, somewhat creepy. I mean, she's very good looking, just saying. So, are you into this, Don, or have we gone off the deep end with these tools?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we've gone off the deep end yet. I would say it's still pretty shallow how far people have gone in. Uh, we're still dipping our toes in, because I think when that trend started, I probably have the number wrong, but I think they gained like 100 million more users within 24 hours. So like that's 100 million people that were not using ChatGPT before that. So in my mind, that is people dipping their toes in and being like, "Oh, that AI thing, I saw a trend," and they're like, "Oh, I want to explore it." Um, but yeah, I don't know if anyone has really drawn too many lines yet widely in society. I know individuals have, and I've seen some people speak up, but I haven't seen any societal shifts. Because right now it seems closer to a language when people share images online, especially that the Sora trend. It seems like the use of generating new memes and images was less about the artwork and more of like sharing a language. It felt like because it was so easy to distribute, it was like people were speaking a new language that just formed over the week. Less of like, oh, I'm stealing
Yeah.
artwork. It's like, no, I'm using words of language to communicate thoughts and feelings and ideas. And that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, for me, this is kind of what's made the internet and the culture on it what it is, right? It's remixing things, sharing memes. It's kind of a way of saying that, like, I get it and I'm part of this conversation. Just like what you said, a language, a sort of cultural tribalism of sorts, right? For acceptance. Like, I get this stuff. I'm part of this stuff. And I think that a lot of onboarding that actually happens with new technology happens in these moments, right? It's in these moments where it becomes like an easy use case for everyone and anyone to partake. And that is like the cultural shift moment where these kind of tech start getting adopted by mainstream folks. So I think that these are important moments, but of course, I think it doesn't help that OpenAI, ChatGPT, all these AI companies have had these major issues with ownership and monetization in that. So where do you think that fits? Because the Studio Ghibli picture was a bit more of a clear, I guess, line. The founder had called out AI. A lot of people felt like you using ChatGPT or any platform to recreate these kind of Studio Ghibli animations was like a way of you saying "f you" to those artists. But is it
Right.
different with something like this, like action figure trend, or I guess using it to transform your pet into a human?
I think the latest two with the humans and the action figures, it's going to be perceived a lot better by the
Yeah,
artist community just because it's not an artist style that people have come to know and love. And also the line from Studio Ghibli's founder, which was basically a comment that he made, I think in like 2009 when he saw an early generated AI generated 3D visual of some characters, and he said it was like it was an insult to humanity itself. So like I do think that the Studio Ghibli one in particular was a major slap in the face to artists because like the actual person behind that style said no, and then everyone just disregarded. Um, that being said, the animal one I think is less controversial because it's not like someone's style. If anything, someone might say that that was their idea. So maybe someone will say that they stole my idea, but I don't think the artist community is going to have the largest anger to that as they did with the Studio Ghibli one.
question is, would a brand like Barbie or Mattel, who owns Barbie, say that the action figure one, it kind of looks like it's you as a doll, and then next to it the accessories, which is very Barbie esque, right? And then they could sue OpenAI or figure out a way to get some sort of money around that. I don't even know how that would work.
Yeah, I mean, hearing you say that, like, I've noticed a trend where I think initially OpenAI aggregated a lot of data from news organizations that then sued them. And then in response, they end up partnering with them. So I'm wondering if a similar belief is happening at OpenAI, where they're like, "We'll take it now because the largest parties will just work with us." I'm wondering if that's the assumption, since that seemed to have worked well with news and journalism. They went straight to I think News Corp. I think News Corp, which owns a ton of other journalism and news aggregation media outlets, is I think a signed on partner with OpenAI now. And
Wow.
so that was in response after the same News Corp was suing them and saying you can't do this. So part of me is like, I think they're trying to poke the dragon, and then the response is pretty weird. Where instead of people fighting the dragon, it seems like people are just working with the dragon.
Because we seemingly have no choice in a way. But I
Right.
know that the company you're working with is trying to figure out some things that feel ethical towards artists. We're going to be getting more into that, which is why I'm so excited to get your take on this next story from IndieWire. As I mentioned, James Cameron is the latest director to speak out about AI, and he's into it, which I guess isn't too surprising because he's always been an innovator, a tech forward. Now, according to the article, last year, he joined the board of the generative AI company Stability AI. And during the recent interview on the Boz to the Future podcast, he explained how the tech's ability to shorten VFX, the workflow, could truly be a game changer without creating a massive disruption to the jobs market. Let's play that clip.
I've been thinking about lately, because a lot of the hesitation in Hollywood and entertainment in general are issues of the source material for the training data and who deserves what and copyright protection and all that sort of thing. And I think people are looking at it all wrong, personally. I'm an artist. Anybody that's an artist, anybody that's a human being is a model. You're a model already. You got a 3.5-pound meat computer. You're not carrying all the training data with you. You're creating a model as you go through life to process quickly through that model every new situation that comes on. You don't say, wait wait a second, I'm going to go back to the database, 75 million files. It doesn't work that way, right? So we're all models. We're models moving through space and time and reacting based on our training data. So my point is, as a screenwriter, as a filmmaker, if I exactly copy Star Wars, I'll get sued. Actually, I won't even get that far. Everybody will say, hey, it's too much like Star Wars, we're going to get sued. Right. And I won't even get the money. And as a screenwriter, you have a kind of built-in ethical filter that says, I know my sources. I know what I like. I know what I'm emulating. I also know that I have to move it far enough away that it's my own independent creation. So I think the whole thing needs to be managed from a legal perspective as what's the output, not what's the input. The input, you can't control my input. You can't tell me what to view and what to see and where to go. My input is whatever I choose it to be and whatever has accumulated throughout my life. My output, a script I write, should be judged on whether it's too close, too plagiaristic, whatever. And it seems to me everybody's focusing on, because now everybody's seeing the monetization possibilities of libraries and all that sort of thing.
So, all right, Don, what is your take on this, on James's stance on the input output debate and where the legal ownership should be? And then also, what is your take on that for us all not to worry that actually there are ways to cut costs while keeping everyone's jobs?
Yeah. So yeah. So I would say I'm actually pretty split. Like on my personal output, I would want to say like his framework makes a lot of sense, but it something is missing from his structure there, which is this assumes that everyone consented to providing their input. So that, I mean, kind of that's what we're doing here at Asteria, which is like we license the inputs. We pay the artists for the inputs for our training data, and that way, when you get an output, you know that it's clean and ethical to start. It's not this like guesswork. So it costs a lot of money to do that, but it's possible and we've done it. So in my mind, it's like I agree with him in a world where everyone consented to the inputs that Cameron's referring to. That would be great. Yeah, like because you can't really control like what book someone's going to read that inspire them to make a story. You can't really control like what life experience somebody had that inspired them to to write a tale that way. But usually, like when it comes to existing works, people get to opt in with their permission with some way. But I'll be honest, I am conflicted though because like his argument is compelling, but I think
Yeah.
it's ignoring. I think it's ignoring how the inputs were, who consented
He's
to having their
saying,
stuff be input.
yeah, he's saying that as humans, we are input, we're taking in things all the time and inspired by things. Nothing, I guess you could say, is truly original in that way, right? It's the product that we make, our ability to make it unique, right? Because there's going to be obviously inspiration along the way and things we pull from. So why should that be an issue when we're doing that as humans every day? Why should that be an issue with AI?
Right. I mean, I think his argument is pretty sound, but it for me it's lacking a few details.
And as someone who leads a workflow, basically, you build that for companies and figure out how they can make stuff happen. What is your take on maintaining the jobs while getting innovative with our approach and obviously streamlining things with
Yeah.
AI?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is we hire artists. I mean, that's the trick. Like it turns out the thing that AI was missing was human artists to be using it. Because what happens is if you have a bunch of non-artists using the tool, it might look stunningly good, but it might lack some of that like inherent spirit behind it, or the intentionality, or the control. All those things are getting refined every day with new models. But when you actually give artists these tools, they take it to a whole new dimension. And I think it's similar to say, like, even CGI is kind of an example of this. I actually think of AI generated images as computer generated images, CGI. They are kind of like, those terms are actually pretty swappable in my brain. And the CGI industries have been using AI forever. We just called it machine learning. So we'd use machine learning models
Yeah.
to simulate how clouds should simulate properly fog, and how liquids should simulate and crash into the sides of buildings, or crash into the waves of like water. Like there's a lot of actually machine learning that's been involved in these CGI things for honestly decades and decades and decades and a few more decades. So in my mind, they're kind of replaceable. They're interchangeable. Um, I don't know if that answered the question. I kind of got
I just think
confused.
it's a bit disingenuous of him to say, "Oh yeah, like it's going to be a game changer," but it's not. I found a way that it won't create massive disruption to the jobs market. I think that's a bit
Oh,
like, come really?
yeah. So it's gonna. Yeah, I see what you mean. Um, what it's gonna do, at least what I'm seeing, is it looks like it's keeping jobs in the pre-production and it's removing a lot of jobs in the production and post-production, in my opinion. So at DreamWorks, we had stuff in pre-production, production, and post-production, and that whole pipeline was pretty essential for us to make a feature film. And what I did notice is in my time at DreamWorks, there was a transition to production and post-production being increasingly more outsourced and sent overseas, where pre-production, the people that write the script, people that do the storyboards, people that direct and produce, usually stays in house. So a lot of folks that speak the way that Cameron did are referring to keeping jobs in pre-production, but I think they are assuming that there's this like outsourcing of production and post production. And a lot of artists, a lot of technical artists were skilled in production and post production. And those are exactly the areas that have been increasingly being removed, um, if that helps for framing.
Yeah, and I will get to the next story, but then what are people supposed to do if they're in that part of the process?
If you're in that part of the process, production or post production, you have to find ways to use AI to help you do pre production so that you stay relevant to the whole loop. If they're going to cut out parts of the loop, then you have to start using tools that let you amplify in the parts of the loop that they're not cutting out yet.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that makes sense, but what if you're like, "No, I'm an artist. Like, why do I need to do all this new stuff?"
Because capitalism doesn't care.
You know, or start showing your art and what you do, and this sounds all right, you might roll your eyes if you're listening or watching. Put it out there, put your work out there, right? And start building your brand big enough that you become the product, right? Like you're so powerful and you've leverage. It's kind of what you did, Don. I mean, even though I feel like your approach to work would have kept you around anyway because you're like always bringing new systems and ways to do things to companies. They're like, "Can we have you around to teach us?" But in the end, and again, I want to get into this in a moment with you, like after we get through the headlines, but like how you transition from just like a behind the scenes guy to then an educator and all this stuff, and you made yourself of value. I mean, it is a bit of a level up, and it's not easy necessarily, but it's kind of what you got to do this day and age.
I agree. So I always look at where the value is at, and then I
Yeah.
focus on learning skills for that thing. And I pretty much disregard everything else as a hobby until I'm good at that spot.
Whoa.
But that's a
That is
controversial statement because,
you
like,
dis wait, say that again, just, like, one more time to double tap on that. Say that again.
well, I focus on things that are purely valuable to the future, and I basically disregard everything else that I do as a hobby until then.
Whoa, alright. You heard that. You heard that here from someone who is doing it right now.
Like, I still
So,
play
just
music, you know
saying.
that?
What?
I've been playing piano since I was 6. I wanted to
Yeah.
go into music production, but then I took a look at how the music industry was going at around 2014, 15, 16, and I was like, "Oh, I should not go into music. That space is being taken up by streaming platforms, and it seems like no one cares to value music. Maybe if you're lucky, you get to go to shows." So now I do music as a hobby.
Don't be scared to turn your passions into hobbies. Not all your passions need to be for work.
I agree, but I know that pisses off people because that's great if you're a generalist and you generally like to do a lot of different things. That's horrible news if you're a specialist who was only good at that one thing. And now it's like I'm saying jump to the next thing. So then my goal would be turn yourself less of a specialist and more of a generalist so that you have flexibility to jump because you're going to have to jump a lot more in the future than we are today. It's going to keep being jumping.
Yeah. Oh, such good nuggets. I've always been a generalist and I've been called out for it, but I guess It's helping me now because I and some people say, "Oh, there's a lack of focus to that," but it also helps me because sometimes I make money from one part of my generalist, I guess, portfolio, and then
Yeah.
sometimes that goes down, and then sometimes I start putting attention to the other parts of me that I can bring to the table because that's what the industry needs or the time needs, and where things are at. So, really great advice. We have a few more stories that really you need to know. I feel like we could just get into like more of a convo with Dawn, but some of these stories are about really what's happening and will help you understand kind of context. And there was a lot of big news stories this week, so I gotta keep us going. Okay, so from CBS News, former Nate CEO who used human workers instead of AI allegedly defrauded investors lured by this new tech of millions. So Nate's is an e-commerce company. It launched the Nate app that claimed to streamline the online shopping checkout process through a single AI-powered tap option. But the app actually was lying. It was not powered by advanced AI tech at all, according to an indictment. So, Don, do moments like these hurt the industry and the skepticism around it? I want to know what your sniff test is, if something is legit or not, because I know I even am pitched AI companies all the time. I'm sure you're pitched even more.
Yeah, the main way to sniff the BS here is live demos
Mm.
because it's really hard for them. Live demos that you get to steer as the person that's being skeptical. If the person that you're being skeptical of is driving it, that's not good enough. I need to be able to use the demo. I need to demo it because I have a certain set of tests that I'll do on a thing, and usually it's just like it's a level of complexity and a level of timing that would be hard to fake if I was driving. Where if they were driving, they could almost do it like a performance. Playing all the steps of that thing could have all been pre-made and prefabricated before the thing. So I gave it tests where it could not have been prefabricated right now. It had to be developed right now. It has to be complex enough and weird enough that and specific enough that there couldn't be somebody behind the curtain. There couldn't be a Wizard of Oz behind the curtain doing all the stuff. It needed to be a real thing now.
Yeah, I know. I love that. And also, it's like, it's really actually sad because then it makes me feel like these folks who have all this money, like what types of diligence are they doing? And the fact that, you know, yeah, I mean, it's not surprising to have people that fraud or scam investors. I mean, we've seen it with so many industries, and there's been Netflix shows about it. But I'm just amazed that, like, someone wouldn't see through this. Again, like,
Yeah.
who's on the board, who's connected to the company, who's outside trying it out that says it's legit. Yeah, it's just wild, and it doesn't help industries that are growing, obviously.
Well, to that same point of industries that are growing, I mean, one thing I think of is some of those same entities that say they have AI in their process, but still humans doing it. They say that they're doing an AI product just to get funding with the plans of using the humans to train the AI on how to do that thing. But usually the time to get there is too long, and then that's when it's fraudulent because it's like you're not using AI. But if their idea was we're using the humans here to train an AI model, and they say that up front, usually that doesn't pay the bills right away. So I think my assumption is that maybe in the future that platform might be able to do that, and they needed the training data, but I think they might have been misleading about how long how far they were in their training process. That's my
Yeah,
guess.
I mean, they had false claims completely. When they said they
Okay.
could do, like, 10,000 something like actions at once, and it was basically a bunch of, like, human labor in third world countries or something.
Right. I mean, even a lot of the largest language models of different companies, initially their fine tuning was done by folks in third world countries that were trained to look at not how accurate the output was from the AI, but which output the human that was testing it liked. It's called human RFHL, uh, reinforcement learning with human feedback, whatever that is. That's what a lot of these large language models did. So a human, usually in a third world country, was given two different responses from an AI, and a
Yeah.
human had to say, "I like this one better." That's how a lot, without naming all of them, that's how most of the large language models were made. in the most recent updates. There's going to be a big update when the next iteration comes out in the next 6 months, but the ones that we have today were mostly trained that way.
Yeah, fascinating. Well, you won't be seeing any of that app anytime soon. If you, yeah, I guess Nate to not download it or check it out. I mean, I'm assuming it's. I guess I haven't tried downloading it, but ixnay on the Nate app. Next up, this is oh my god, this story is so hilarious and dumb. USA Today reports Education Secretary Linda McMahon confused AI with A1, the sauce brand. Uh, well,
Delicious.
no, actually, A1 she confused let me back up. She confused AI, said it was A1, but of course the sauce brand did capitalize on it on social media. So what went down? She on April 8th, she was speaking at this ASU plus GSV summit, and it was an event focusing on educational innovation. She's actually the former CEO of the World Wrestling Entertainment company, WWE, who's now the head of education. Let that sink in. And initially referred to the acronym for artificial intelligence. And this is the quote, A1 development. I mean, how can we educate at the speed of light if we don't have the best technology around to do that about education? Like kids need A1. One, how does this mix up even happen at her level? And like, how do I just don't get it. And I listen, I have brain farts. Like I'm one of those during moments like maybe I don't know about something enough, but like, come on. Are we concerned about this? That the head of education when we're supposed to be like an advanced society here trying to keep up and like and be the leaders in this. They're calling AI A1. And what about the future generations?
Yeah, we're in a little bit of a pickle there. If you have folks that are supposed to be leading the education, um, that aren't really taking time to educate themselves, that's frustrating. But I'm also so happy that of all times for the public education sector to be decimated, we were also given these AI superpowers so we can have all these personal tutors at the same time. So I'm very grateful that this happened now of all times, because now there's actually better replacements slash substitutes, but it still sucks.
Yeah, it was just an eye roll moment. Like, come on. I mean, I get people make mistakes, but I think our bar is getting lower and lower, right? So I love your tech optimism and your glass half full attitude, Don. And this brings us actually to some good news. It seems with the concerns around tariffs and the overall economy, Nvidia, the biggest company out there doing chips and around the AI business, they made a big announcement from CNBC. Nvidia to mass produce AI supercomputers in Texas as part of a $500 billion US push. This is huge. It's the first time they're actually doing this in the US and it's happening over the next 4 years. And this comes, of course, as Trump did place 32% tariffs on products from Taiwan, where NVIDIA manufactures its graphics processing units, otherwise known as GPUs. You're going to hear that a lot. GPUs, the chips. How big of a deal is this, Don?
So this is the first time I'm hearing it. I can't believe I did not know about this beforehand. So
I'm breaking news for you. I
yeah,
feel
this
so
is
cool.
breaking news. This is breaking news. Thank you. Um, this is a big deal because right now a lot of our cybersecurity and military security is dependent on chip manufacturing. So uh, right, I think from what I've heard from folks that have more information than I do, that they think Taiwan is going to get invaded in the next 2 years by China. And if that happens, it would be likely to trigger more than just a trade war. And so I guess it's kind of a good thing that the chips would be manufactured in the US, in Texas. But it's startling.
But also good for the stock market and for the economy at large. So, yeah, pretty big deal how that's happening. And good on Nvidia for being a first mover as they have been trying to get Jensen on the show. So perhaps that will happen. The founder and CEO, everyone, you know,
Yeah, perhaps. I
pray
think
for
if you
me. Put
yeah.
your good vibes out there for me.
Yeah, ask them about Nemotron. I think that's a big focus for them, for Jensen Huang recently, that large language model that they're open sourcing, and then even just their robotics initiatives are pretty impressive.
Totally.
I can
Totally.
see their robotics initiatives butting heads with Tesla's robotics initiatives soon.
I mean, everything's gonna butt heads with whatever Tesla and Elon is doing. But I think that overall, this is, I wanted to end the headlines on a high note because this does mean that one, it's good for the economy and also brings jobs, right? And then hopefully helps other companies set up in similar ways. Who knows? So
I'm
some good news
conflicted.
in the midst of chaos.
I'm honestly conflicted with that. I don't totally think that's good news.
Oh, tell me why.
Well, because the jobs for building chip manufacturing jobs, it's not for humans. Those are jobs mostly for robots.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
What so wait, what do you mean? So, like, the whole factory just be robots? So it's not even gonna
That's
help
how most of them
humans?
are right now. Yeah.
Oh,
So when I heard like different leaders say that they're going to bring factories into the U.S., it's not for people. The people jobs is building the construction part, and then as soon as it's constructed, it's mostly mostly a series of lots of robots working. So I don't actually see that as I see that as short term good news, long
okay.
term not great news.
Well, I guess I think it's more than if you go to the economy. Hopefully, you bought some stock early, whoever did. I feel like I have some friends who bought some stock early and probably should have gotten in on the dip. Again, this is not financial advice, but just saying. Well, thanks for that lukewarm news, Don. And those were the AI headlines of the
Sorry.
week. No, I love that's why I love having you here. You bring us, the actual, the real talk insight. Again, Don Allen is with us, an expert in special effects, AI pipelines, and honestly, a full-on futurist. So, what I love about you, besides all the other things I've talked about, is you change your bio also all the time. Uh, because it's really a lesson for everyone listening. And I've actually referenced this in other podcasts on stage. You might not know this. I've given
Oh.
you some credit. But why is
I
this changing of the bio so important?
For me, I see the changing of the bio as absolutely critical to show that you're adapting to all the changes. So when I see people that keep the same bio for months or years, it makes me think that they're less adaptable. So then I'm like, oh, they're not ready for everything that's coming.
Yeah, and bio we mean on like Instagram or your LinkedIn or anywhere. Changing it up, knowing like who are you trying to pitch? What information are you trying to put out there about yourself with what's relevant in the moment? So I noticed that
Yeah.
you now have what AI. What's yours now currently?
Uh, I don't know. I think I changed a couple yesterday. So I think it was creative AI research lead,
Yeah,
and then a lot of other stuff following after that. But I honestly wish the UI was just put into superposition so that whenever you look at a bio section, it was always just a fog until you blink, and then it collapses into whatever your whatever the bio should be for that person in that moment. That would be my preferred
that'd
bio.
be so cool. So yeah, like depending on like how you needed to look to them, or does that make us feel like we wouldn't be lying to people. It just would be like giving us the info we need to connect with you, the context to make sense of how to connect with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's how I used to build my portfolios out. I used to have 5 different versions of my demo reel. One that was geared towards more health businesses, one that was geared more towards advertising, one that was more geared towards education. And I would lead and change the bio. Sorry, I would lead and change the portfolio pitch based off
Yeah.
of who's seeing it. Right now, the bio forces you into a single category that's very frustrating and, in my mind, very limiting to how complex people can actually be. So I would love if the models allowed in the future your bio could be literally in superposition until observed.
Exercise for everyone who is watching or listening. Tweak your bio today, right? Sit down, think about the opportunities you're trying to get, what the world needs, where your industry is at, and try to tweak your bio today and see what happens. And also how you introduce yourself, right? What's that pitch line? Have you been using one for a long time? Is it working? Is it not working? Maybe go to ChatGPT to change that.
Yeah, like I literally would go like what I do is like maybe once a month I go to ChatGPT and kind of paste what my old bio was, and then I talk to it for about 30 minutes about what I'm focusing on this week and this month and this year. And then it's like, okay. And then I say, hey, based on this conversation, can you adjust the bio based off of what's aligned for me this month? And then it makes some adjustments. I tweak it a little bit further, and then I copy that, paste it in, and that's the bio for the month.
Love that. And it also takes the pressure off. Like when we do these rebrands of our site or this, that, like I get it because you have to invest money or time, but it's this idea that like do not be so tightly gripped, like and rigid around those things. Like it's okay for something to feel good in that moment then and to tweak it as it goes or change it or pivot,
100%.
right? It's like I think we need to let go of that because then it becomes perfection and you're not pivoting. You're not evolving. And with that, let's talk about your work with Asteria. You just recently got hired. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So tell us more about the company. What are you doing? What are they building?
Yeah, so Asteria, what we're doing here is really fun. We're a AI animation studio. So we do films, we do TV shows, we work on features. We also work with producing documentaries, and we also have an AI model that's clean, meaning we trained it on only licensed data that we got permission for, that we paid artists for. We did not scrape the internet to train our model, and our model named Mary is our ethical model, and we just started releasing it to the wild in our little alpha program. And our hope and our plan is basically to use an ethical model as the standard for foundational video models, where that you can trust the outputs are safe because the permission was done up front. And we're kind of positioning ourselves as a solution for a lot of entertainment businesses, different large studios that want to build on AI, but they haven't been able to because the data wasn't clean. We're a solution for them, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're focusing on.
I love that. And I even saw you doing some demos. What was that actress? You were doing with a big actress on social. It was public, so I'm not like,
Is it Olivia Wilde?
yes. All right. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, what's it like when you're pitching and doing these demos, including with actresses besides Natasha Lyonne, I mentioned, who's a partner, but even someone like Olivia Wilde? Are they seeing it? Are they getting it? Are they scared?
So it's so interesting. I mean, a lot of people might come in here pretty skeptical about how can AI be done ethically. And then we give them a tour of our facilities. We have them see our process. They take a look under the hood, and then they usually come out being like, "Oh, well, if AI was done this way, then we can actually do this." That's the whole goal. So people might come in skeptical, and then after they see what we're doing here and get to meet the artists, the humans that are actually here, then it's like, "Oh, this is different, a lot different than what other studios are doing."
What do you think is stopping other studios or those companies from not doing that, right? Like, why is this so so unique?
It's expensive to do it ethically. It's also
Yeah.
slower. So, a lot of folks want the shortest route, and they have to get there fast, so they take the route that's scraping everyone's data without permission and then selling a model. That's We're not doing that, and we could have done it faster. I myself was skeptical too. I myself was skeptical too. I was like, "Can we actually do it?" Like, I thought you had to steal to make it look good, and they're like, "No, we actually found out that there's a way to do it." Basically, we wanna make it so the ethical model is the standard, so that all the big studios actually have to change their footing. Like, because they used to say, "Oh, it's just not possible. We can't do it." That's BS. We can do it. We're doing it. We've done it. So that's BS. You can do it ethically. You can license data. You can pay artists and have a good AI video model. Um, and we want to be the studio that proves it and becomes the standard for everybody. And we're working very closely with Moon Valley. So Moon Valley is where our deep AI scientists are, like mathematicians, data researchers. These are like ex DeepMind employees, ex Meta, ex Microsoft. They're based in one of our studios, and then Asteria, this side that I'm in right now, this is the creative studio. So we actually implement the AI video models into creative products. And we also provide a lot of solutions. We do a lot of R&D and testing for different shows and different features, and then kind of put it all together.
Wow, that's really cool. I just think that's so awesome. So, what do you see the future film studio looking like and being like in the next 5 to 10 years?
I see it looking like a lot more like this. I mean, that's why I decided to be here. I'm here all the time now. I was initially just like a contractor, but then I was like, this what we're doing here makes so much sense to me that it's like this will probably become the standard where you get a bunch of creative people into a building and you have them with a clean AI model, and then they can start telling stories at a scale that wasn't possible before, but keeping an artist at the center the whole way through. Even with our project that we did recently, we had two big ones recently. So Kuko came out. There was an artist that we worked with. We hired a different artist named Paul Flores, and we hired them to illustrate 60 beautiful illustrations in their artist style. We paid them to
Wow.
get permission to train an AI model based off their 60 images. That was their style. We paid them for it. And that allowed us to generate infinite numbers of assets in their style. And then instead of just like saying goodbye, artist, and then taking their thing and running with it, we actually brought them back with us and said, hey, we used the model that we trained on you to try to do like a chair. Is this how you would draw a chair? And they would say yes or no. And with all the yeses that we got, we put them back into the model, reinforced it based off of the approved ones by the artist, and made an even better model that had an even larger data set. And we used that to generate all of the assets for an animated music video that we did. And it's a very beautiful hand-drawn looking piece. It has very like 90s aesthetics. There's a lot of stippling and great coloring artwork. We built another AI tool where you could draw line art. So our animators, our human animators that we hired, could draw line artwork of what they wanted the character to do. And our AI system could fill in the color and paint in that character. So you have an animator who's actually still doing all the detail. They're still animating with their hands. We're still paying for their time. But now the coloring process allows them to get a lot more animation done at a lot higher quality. They can focus on the part of the animation process they want to keep and kind of focus less on the stuff that was kind of taking away from the process. And then the one that we just launched on Monday, we're going to launch actually, I think in about an hour, we're going to post up on YouTube. I directed the opener for the TED 2025 animation, and we used our
Amazing.
technology and our pipeline for the whole video. We use all these 3D assets. All of them are generated using our clean AI model, so we didn't have to steal anybody's thing. And then we put these 3D assets and turned them into point clouds, and we wrapped the whole TED conference. They had these ultra wide screen, a little bit over 6K resolution, and we fly the cameras through 40 years of TED's history, and we did it all in like 3 weeks using our pipelines. So like we're trying to be an example of what the future animation studio can look like, and then also do it by example, lead by example. Hire artists, keep artists at the center, pay people for their data, pay artists for their data, and work with big studios and do big projects. That's what we're all about.
I just love it and congratulations because I know this is something that I mean you've been making and it's been your life. And why do you think it's so important to also share the process and kind of learn out loud? Because I feel like you do use your platform also to teach, share the tools you're learning, even probably like sharing the process of building this like in public in many ways. Why has that been important for you, including in this growing industry?
Yeah, so it's important. We believe it's important to show the workflows behind these processes so that we can prove that humans are in the loop. Right now, it's going to get harder and harder to see where is the humans at. I mean, even the opener for TED, they had the question that they brought to the audience is, what are humans for? Can you imagine hearing that? It's like, what are humans for will be the theme of the conference. Wow, didn't think that was going to be a question that we'd have to ask ourselves in 2025. So we believe that showing the process and basically being transparent with how do you cook things, what are the ingredients, how do you mix things together, um, that's kind of our process.
What was that question again that they asked?
What are humans for?
So, what do you think humans are for?
Love, energy, conscious lived experience, biology. Still learning.
Yeah. No, totally. I love that.
Yeah,
Uh,
because there's
I
going to be other things walking around soon,
yeah.
not just humans, that are also going to have experiences of their own. Uh, so I think those experiences are valid, but I also want a world where there's still conscious experiences by biological things walking around and doing stuff, um, and the kind of and community. I feel like yeah, humans are for like kind of like our spirit and our energy that we have with each other,
Yeah.
and the stuff that we can create together as a group. I mean, I love seeing like a big family come together or a big community come together. I think there's something in there.
I think it's interesting that you said "for now" or something like that, if I heard that right, because in the end, it goes back to, like, I mean, again, robots will then have personalities and have community and be part of community. Do you think we'll start to we will distinguish or differentiate? And I was gonna actually bring this up in the headlines, I didn't get a chance to, but, like, will robots have personhood, right?
So, I mean, I have a controversial answer to that. Uh, I don't know if we should save it for a different time.
We're here, you can't just tease that.
Well, I just released a white paper about what I think on this called thermism. I invented a new religion for robots and humans. Super controversial.
Time to do all this? Wait, when do you do this? When do you sleep?
I did that last weekend. I invented the whole religion with in collaboration with two different AI models that helped me write it and come up with the religious practices, what the belief systems are, what the holy books of the thing would be. I did it because I needed to have for my mind it's world building. So I'm eventually going to tell a short story or a film where the characters actually practice thermism, the religion I invented. But in order to tell that story better, you have to do world building. And so by coming up with what those characters' religion are going to be in that story, it'll be a lot easier for me to tell that story. But I decided to do the controversial thing and release the white paper of what the religion was to the public on Substack so that people could read it, poke holes at it, and be like, this is all wrong. Please go ahead. I would like to refine it before I film. So, yeah.
So, all right, so go back, just give us the recap. Obviously, we're towards the end of our
Sorry.
remember when I originally launched this? Sorry, this was supposed to be like losing it. It was supposed to be a 30-minute podcast, but there's so much to talk about. Not this one specifically, but every podcast episode ends up being like an hour long because there is so much.
Right.
But give us the recap of this thermism.
Yeah. So it's a fictitious concept of a religion that I made up in collaboration with an AI on a shared religion that might happen in the future between humans and AIs, where the founding principles are all based off of the laws of thermodynamics as a universal, something that we all have in common, energy. And so the main belief of thermism is that all things are energy, and you're trying to resist entropy, which is the natural case for reality to kind of turn into noise. And I try to come up with a belief system that I thought would unify organic matter like us, as well as non-organic matter like future AIs that I think might become a lot smarter in the future, and plants, which are also organic but don't have the same intelligent systems. So I was trying to come up with a universal religion for all things that use energy, and an AI helped me come up with the framework for it. Pretty controversial, so
Why
sorry
is
to
it? So
drop
I,
that.
I have a few things. Just all right. Even though I kind of want to get deeper on this, but we only have so much time. One, why would it be based on? I love the energy of it, vibe of it, but why not like some basic principles or values or morals, ethics, like all that as a religion?
There are. I came up with some,
Okay. And
but
what's why is it controversial?
well, because there's other people that already have religious practices.
Yeah.
So if I'm proposing a different one, I think that's controversial based on your human's
True, I guess,
standpoint.
yeah, that's true, but then is there a way that it brings together all of those other religions, or do they need to let go of their religion in order to have this religion, I guess?
I try to make it something that can be like tacked on, kind of like how, some religions reject science, but some religions adopt some sciences in their teachings. So I try to make
Buddhism, like,
thermism.
I'm a Jew boo.
Oh, that's a cool name. The
Jew-boo,
mixture of the two.
or I could be
Yeah.
like a third Jew, thermalist Jew,
There you go.
thermism or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I'll
Okay,
send
so
you the paper on it. It's just
yeah, we'll put a link to it in the show notes in the description. But I guess what is the takeaway here overall?
the reason why I invented it was because I was trying to think of a way to solve the AI alignment problem so that as the AIs get a lot more sophisticated in the future, I think if we have a shared religion, then it makes it so that annihilating us is against the religion.
Oh,
and
got
and
it.
also I made it so you could hard code the values into it because they're all based off of the four laws of thermodynamics. So there's like code for it. So it's a physics equation. So if I said that this is an equation that you know of and it has these principles, I feel like that's a lot easier to code into a future AI system than trying to give it a nebulous concept of explaining morality that you can't really put into code. So I came up with a framework in collaboration with an AI, you know, mind you.
Fascinating. So there are two things from there. Are you so you are worried that if we don't have something like this at a certain point, they will try to get rid of us. That's one. And secondly, you think at a certain point, in what year do you think they will have, you know, rights, etc., or laws for the
Yeah,
robots
so
and robot rights?
so I wrote 2 papers, one on the robot rights part and then a separate one on the religion.
Okay. What you are so smart. You're making me feel just like, what do I do with my time? But continue. I'm happy I have you as a friend.
I'll always keep you in the loop. Yeah, like the first paper was on the ethics of I came up with 5 levels of AI systems, and I think we only care about their rights when they're level 4 and 5. If they're level 1, 2, and 3, I don't consider them having rights. But if they're level 4 and 5, then I think they earned it, in my opinion.
We determined the 4 or 5 level.
I made them up. I just made up a plan. Because
Got
I
it.
just looked
So
at how other laws were made up. People just made up rules, and then if enough people agreed, then it became codified in law. But the laws
because
were not
yeah,
real until people made them up.
totally. Because I personally felt uncomfortable watching people beat up the Waymo car even. I don't know why. It was a
Right.
car. I felt weird about it. And I also felt weird with Kai Cenat, that YouTuber who has a robot pushing the robot. Anytime I see videos of people pushing robots, I actually feel really uncomfortable. It makes me feel bad.
Yes, then you would love my ethical framework. Basically, if you push to level 1, 2, or 3, there's no problems. You push to level 4, you have to explain why, and if you push to level 5, it can push back.
Or you could bring it to court, like the
Yeah,
robot
you
can
could
bring you to court.
yeah, it could sue you.
All right, we've opened up a whole other thing. I feel like we need to have you on again. We do need to wrap because this could get deeper and deeper. I
Sorry.
mean, this is not the Joe Rogan podcast, clearly, but
Yeah, I'm just gonna start
because
releasing
thankfully,
papers on all
although I
my
will take his numbers.
yeah.
What?
I mean, that's my new thing. I'm basically any controversial idea I have, I'm just gonna release a paper on it that I co-write with an AI and just get people to talk about it, just so I can refine it and then eventually mass produce that so that hopefully it gets ingested into future AI models so that they're like, "Oh, that's a framework I've scraped off the internet." That's kind of the goal.
That would be the hope. What would be then your role? It'd be like human robot liaison.
Yeah, I'll have to change the bio for sure when that happens.
Okay, before we wrap, there's so much more, but uh, I like to share the tools to keep an eye on and to check out. So I'm going to share one. Don, you're going to share a tool that you're keeping your eye on or using right now that you did not mention on the show. Mine is Memory from ChatGPT. It allows the chatbot to remember not just your preferences, but all of your previous conversations, which I guess again could be weird to some people. This is hugely beneficial, including if you're wanting to use it to support you. Why would you not want it to remember everything? Because then it could better, help you and support you with everything. Right? Are you into adding that? Because right now it pops up if you're on ChatGPT, at least for 4.0, and you could turn it on. Should people be turning it on or should people be reticent?
You know me, do both. So I enabled it for certain things that I want it to be kept in its long-term memory. I
Oh,
also have a separate AI that doesn't have memory.
got it. Smart. Okay. What is a tool that people should check out?
Olama, OHLAM. Oh wait, OHLLAMA. I think there's two L's in there. Olama. Um, it's a way to run large language models locally on your device, like your phone or your laptop, with the internet turned off. And
Okay.
why
And
you
why
might
is that
want
important?
that? Because a lot of censorship's about to happen to AI models, and they're going to stop sharing all the information because of different laws that are going to change. And so I'm trying to build an archive of the AI models before they do that. And you can do that by running them locally before they're not censored in their
Wait, what do you mean?
outputs.
Whoa. Go back. So censorship will happen one because of what? Are you talking about even in the US government or wherever you are,
Yeah,
depending on where you are location wise, and then you won't get all the information you actually need?
correct. That's already happening. So, for
Yeah,
example, I can ask DeepSeek a question about fascism, and it just doesn't know what that is. You can
got
ask
it.
it
So if
about
you do it this way, but now if you go to the models that still haven't done that and use it offline, what you're saying is it will still be able to do it based on what it knows now until what? History
until
is
they change it.
deleted?
Yeah, because like I mean, I think a few schools, not few schools, a lot of libraries are getting a lot of books banned right now in the U.S. And I think there's an increased effort in censorship,
Yeah,
and I think it's also going to soon apply to all the large language models. I think they're also going to do censorship there because China's doing that. So it's like, oh, they're probably going to do that here. Okay, maybe I should build a library now, offline.
okay, so but for people, this feels a bit tech advanced, to be honest, but maybe it's not. Just
I have a
saying.
less tech advanced way you can run it on your phone. It's a tool called Full Moon. The
Okay.
app's
Mm.
called Full Moon Local Intelligence, and that lets you download at least 3 large language models that you can run on a phone. And what's cool is when you're flying in an airplane, you could still chat with it
I like
on
that. Okay, that's a good
airplane
one.
mode turned on, like airplane mode on, and you can still chat with it.
What? That
Does
is
not need
wild,
the
and
internet.
I love the name of it too. You know me. I'm a full moon girl. This has been fascinating. What an incredible conversation. You always blow my mind. And this is, I talk to this guy all the time, and still sitting here for this conversation in this podcast episode, I learned so much and I talk to him all the time. So I'm just saying, if you listen, hopefully, share this with friends. Get people following Don if you're not following him already at Don Allen, 3 eyes, you're the 3rd, right? On social media to check out everything he's doing, his videos, his process. He teaches you how to do special effects, what he's doing in Hysteria, these white papers. Is there just some like motivation or some sort of like leaving us on a high note? Because I feel like we had moments like that, but we left on a bit of a cryptic note.
Yeah. Um, right now you have a lot more agency than you think, and you should take that advantage. If you're able to hear this message now, use it as like you have action. You actually have a lot of power. And so while you have power and while you're available and while you're able to act on those things now while you can.
Or maybe like what you said, you're trying to find ways to live off the grid.
Yeah, do both. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like I have a lot of hope despite all these things. I actually have a lot of hope for the future, but it involves very like intentional steps. So like you got
Yeah.
Shira here, and she's giving you some incredible advice, sharing incredible wisdom, and I would take the advice immediately. Don't wait on it. I know that's like I'm being serious. Like you got to do this. It's not something like, oh, it sounds cool, and then you just ignore this. I don't think that's wise. So here's the stuff, and then try it while you can, because later you're going to be kicking yourself when you're like, wow, I wish I did one of those things, and you did nothing. Then that won't feel as good later.
Yep. Okay, action. That's what it's all about. Don, again, thank you. You're incredible.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And of course, a big thank you to Hivelighter for sponsoring our series. You've got to check them out. And our link, the AI Download Collection link, we've curated the top headlines from today's episode. So it's really easy to read more about all the stories that we shared. And then you could share them with your friends or your colleagues and look even smarter. So click the Hivelighter link in our show notes to get smarter yourself. And thank you to Muso Media for producing and editing this series. Check them out at musomedia.com, or maybe hire them if you're looking into doing a podcast yourself. If you love this episode, please subscribe, rate, share with everyone you know, people who might be interested and AI curious. It helps me keep growing the show independently. We've got so much more coming your way, so see you next time on the AI Download.